Ladies and gentlemen, the JB kidnapping case has been solved. The kidnappers have been arrested. And the question right now is what really happened? And most importantly, is JB now a safe place given that kidnappers has been arrested, or, there'll be much more waiting for us if we go to JB. So let's watch on, shall we? A few days ago, I did a video on the major kidnapping case in JB, where there was a Malaysian businessman, Chinese, has been ransomed for 20 million ringgit, and he paid the ransom and was being released after 13 hours. With the outbreak of the case, many people were very, very concerned, right? Telling me, Mr. Lu, how to retire in JB when it's so unsafe, right? Everybody who goes inside will be targeted and things like that. So it's quite a concern by many Singaporean potential retirees in JB, and also a potential concern to some Malaysian, not as much, interestingly. But let's watch on to see the case, and I'll give you my observation. So in the case where the Chinese businessman was being kidnapped and paid the ransom and released, the police, after 10 days, has arrested 13 suspects. So they have a task force and somehow conducted a coordinated raid across Johor. And I think they arrested quite a lot of people, and operation was spent across many places. And I think most of the arrest was done in Kota Tinggi. The number of suspects, 13 of them, aged between 23 to 50 of them, were apprehended during an operation starting from 9 p.m. all the way to the morning. This was a very efficient coordinated raid, and actually most of the perpetrators are being arrested. Interestingly, one of the suspects is a family member. Clearly, they kidnapped the businessman for money, and this came heading, right? Blood is not thicker, right? Blood is not thicker than water. So it is important who your family member is as well. Out of the 13, 10 are men and 3 are women. So ladies can also be involved in this kind of case. And out of the 10, 8 are locals and 2 are foreigners. And out of the 3 women, 2 are locals and 1 foreigner. So a very interesting case. It actually involved a lot of people. So clearly, this was a case where the victim actually potentially some of the members of the perpetrators. I think this is quite interesting, right? That most of the kidnapping case involve people they actually knew. So I'll give you a few more cases, right? So there was a Singapore mechanic, okay, where his son was about to be kidnapped. Interestingly, the main suspect was also a business partner of the boy's father. And they were potentially planning for a kidnapping ransom of 300,000 ringgit. Another case in Penang, 4 men, of which 3 were Chinese national, were arrested on the suspicion of being involved in the kidnapping of a restaurant owner. And again, right, this is a case where people actually knew each other as well, okay? And again, after the ransom was of about 300k ringgit was being made, the police managed to rescue the victim. Another case in Sepang, where 6 people, including a married couple, were charged with kidnapping a Chinese national involving a ransom of Bitcoin worth $1 million. Among the suspects detained was the victim's chauffeur, and the authorities are still searching for 4 more suspected connected to the case. The suspects were all believed to be debt collectors. Again, right, the kidnappers knew the victim in person. Another case, 3 boys were being abducted in Johor, and 4 youths were being arrested, aged between 15 to 20. This was a case where the victim actually knew the perpetrators. So last is there was a kidnapped girl in Malaysia, almost sold to prostitution ring. The girl actually knew one of the kidnappers as the ex-girlfriend of her brother. So you see, right, they all knew each other, and this is quite dangerous. What's the learning behind all this? Number one is most of kidnappers are usually motivated by money, of course. That's what kidnappers mainly are for. And they target businessmen and rich people and other vulnerable people for money. And in very, very important thing, most of the case, almost in all the case, the victim knew some of the kidnappers. So they're all, in some sense, inside job, right? So who you know is dangerous. We need to be very careful who you know. So again, right, who you know in Malaysia is actually quite important. Make sure who you know is actually quite important in Malaysia. Not just who you know can get you to do certain things, but who you know can get you, into trouble as well, right? If you are number 1, a businessman, number 2, rich person, very important. Your circle of people around you is very important, because these are the people that can either protect you or get you into trouble. Now, I need to say one thing which many people always scorn at. the Malaysian police usually solve the case. Now, a lot of people say, oh, Malaysia police, one kind. In this kind of big case, so far, all the cases I know, they always solve the case. So let this be a big reminder to anybody who is thinking of doing anything stupid in Malaysia. Okay, the Malaysian police, when solving big case, are very, very efficient. Now, of course, you might say, oh, well, I lost some money in the car, windscreen cannot smash and that kind of thing. Those are, I understand, right? Those cases are very big in Singapore, are very small in Malaysia. But it comes to this kind of big case, right? The Malaysian police usually solve the case. And so far, almost none of the kidnappers are able to run away. So is Malaysia, JB, still a place for retirement for some of us, or maybe for many of us who are thinking of it in Singapore, going to Malaysia? Now with this kind of case, everybody get into cold feet, right? I don't know how to say this without insulting many of you who are having cold feet. I just need to say this. Stop thinking that this kind of kidnapping will happen to any Tom, Dick, and Harry, right? Many of us do not qualify to be kidnapping victim. A lot of people gave a lot of comments on my previous video as if, all Singaporeans are going to be targeted as kidnapping victim. I don't know how to say this. Can you stop thinking that, you even qualify to be a kidnapping victim? Yeah, these kidnappers has ransom inflation. If you think you can be kidnapped, you better qualify for your status. Generally have to be a businessman with a lot of liquid cash, easy to be targeted in some form or another. Not every one of us. In fact, most of us don't qualify. Now the market price is 20 million ringgit. Okay, 20 million ringgit. I don't know how of us got 20 million ringgit, just like that. But in the case of a Chinese businessman, he's a developer who just concluded a big case, right? So the people around him knows that he's got money. I'm not too sure, most of us have a liquid cash of this kind of amount, okay? Certainly not me. I think 99% of Singaporeans don't have this kind of liquid cash. Our Singapore cars are so expensive, houses are so expensive. Most of money are all tied in these two already. I understand that most of us are worried for our young children. And I'll say this, don't bring your young children into Malaysia, if you feel concerned about it, right? Again, I want to say this. I know there are a lot of people with some experience, some 30 years ago, some 20 years ago, whatsoever. I think Malaysia does have a crime rate that's higher than Singapore. In fact, most country has a crime rate higher than Singapore, except for maybe Japan or Switzerland or something like that. But most countries have crime rate that's much higher. Certainly Europe, certainly UK, certainly US, their crime rate are all higher than Singapore. I just want to say this, that it's something that we all need to learn how to manage it. And if you feel that this is not a place for you, don't go, right? Don't go. Quite a funny case by this general lady. He said that a group of friends are going to Malacca. They were all prepared that if indeed they will be hijacked in a car on expressway or actually get robbed or things like that, they went to the workshop in Singapore and they were prepared to get some modification done for safety. And the workshop would laugh at them and say, come on lah, you have a Toyota Vios. I'm not too sure you'll be targeted, right? And they all prepared. In many ways, just in case they're targeted. They went in as if they're waiting for safari and all came back unrobbed, and this probably hurt their ego. So I'll just say this, the point is to be vigilant, okay? Not just in Malaysia, but a year-end holiday is coming. Wherever you go, I think it's important for us to be vigilant as well. Just be careful. Now, this is not something that happened to every father, mother, son. We certainly, as I said, many of us talk as if this kind of case it will happen to every Singaporean. I'm embarrassed to say that many of us don't qualify, okay? Our wealth level are too low for the Malaysia kidnappers. But that said, okay, low crime doesn't mean no crime. We all got to be careful. And the other one is, a lot of us go to JB to retire is because we want to escape the inflationary pressure of Singapore. So in some sense, those people who actually retire in JB, most of the case, you are an economic refugee, okay? In short, you are probably poor, relatively speaking. So by definition, I don't think you qualify to be a kidnap victim, Again, right, I know this is very insulting to many people, but let's not pretend that when we go over to JB, we are all going to attract a lot of potential kidnappers just simply because we drive an S-plate car or we carry a red passport. But certainly, some care is necessary. If you think that, you can retire in Singapore, good for you, right? Stay in Singapore. If you think you're going to Malaysia and you're concerned, exercise some general care and concern, I think you'll be fine, right? For those people who have very high net worth, a lot of money, and actually people around you don't trust, then it's better for you not to go into Malaysia, right? For rest of us, think through, and I'll see you in a day or two. Goodbye.